feel their pain. The truth is out, the case is closed, but our search for justice never slows.
Hey everyone, how are you? Happy Sunday. And it is the first day of fall officially, and it is definitely fall in New York. It was, well, it still is. It's gorgeous outside. I got out for a few hours, stopped at my parents', and my mom had made ziti and meatballs for her and my dad, and she knew I was stopping, so she saved me some. So that was really nice of her. So I can't believe the weekend is nearly over, though. I feel like it just started. And I started my weekend early because I had an appointment on Friday and didn't have to work. But alas, here we are. It is Monday again tomorrow. So thanks for being here, Glow, Pookie, Angie, Team Serena Deeb. I would have to look who sings it. AMAC made it for me. So I have the file. I'll look, but I do not know the answer to that question. Oh, Pookie cannot hear on the road with the kids. Okay. Hey, Truth Seeker, how are you? Good to see you. Sinner, thanks for being here. So, yet again, we have another mass shooting, this time in a nightlife area of Birmingham, Alabama. It happened around 11 p.m. last night. 4 people have died. 17 others are injured, 4 of them with life-threatening injuries. Police believe it was a targeted attack between individuals, and many of those injured were just caught in the crossfire. And that reminds me of, and I don't remember the town, but there was a shooting at a park. You know what? Let me look that up quickly. Oh, it was Rochester. I totally forgot. It was Maplewood Park in Rochester. And in that, 2 women died, 6 others were injured. And they did find, I don't know if they found all of the suspects, but they did arrest a few. But it reminds me of that. People just out having a good time. And we have individuals who cannot they don't know how to use their words, or they don't have coping skills, and they have to pull out a weapon and start shooting, regardless of who's around. It's just, I just don't even understand. I have no words. Hey, Christina. So we are going to mainly focus on this today. I do have a feel-good story at the end, as I try to do every time. But we are going to watch the press conference for this, which is about 20 minutes. So based on time, we may be able to look at other stories. But for this, I think I'm going to just keep it about the mass shooting. I do have also a couple of news clips and a couple of articles, one from a survivor who was shot but is expected to be okay. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that. One of my cats was digging my couch, and they know they're not supposed to do that. Right, Mimi? Right. She did stop, though, when I told her to knock it off. All right, so let me add this. So This happened in Birmingham, Alabama. It was the 5 Points South region, which is just that. It's 5 points. And I feel like, give me 1 second. I don't know why this is. There was another shooting at a nightclub, and I'm pretty sure it was in Birmingham, and I'm trying to think about whereabouts it was. I'm going to have to look. Because this is, I feel like I have deja vu with this, and I know it's obviously not, it hasn't happened before, but I just feel like this is reminiscent of that other shooting that happened outside a nightclub. All right, so let's get started.
Breaking news.
And good morning, I'm Jarvis Robertson. We'll have your first check of weather in just a few minutes, but first we want to start with that late breaking news coming out of Birmingham. Multiple gunmen believed to be on the run after a mass shooting on the south side. This is how the scene looked moments after those shots were fired in 5 Points South just after 11 o'clock last night. Dozens of police and emergency crews rushed to the scene. Here's what we know so far. 4 people are dead, 4 people have life-threatening injuries, and dozens of people were shot, and that's all according to police. Investigators tell us multiple shooters fired on people in the open. The FBI and the ATF are also joining this investigation. No arrests have been made. Now, the deadly mass shooting taking place in the heart of 5 Points South. We're told it happened on Magnolia Avenue near 20th Street. And we have live local late-breaking team coverage for you this morning. WVTM 13's Zoe Blair has been on the ground all night. She's now at UAB. WVTM 13's Emma Owen will lead us off from 5 Points South. Emma, what have you learned from police this morning?
Well, Jarvis, police tell me that the dozens of people who were shot last night here in the 5 Points South area, they were on the streets and on the sidewalks when those shots were fired. And just to give you some context, this is a very popular entertainment district here in Birmingham. So a typical.
And Sinner, you just sent it to me and I just found it. It was Birmingham. This is why I have, this deja vu feeling, because the last mass shooting outside of, it was an event center, but it was like a nightclub / event center, was in North Birmingham, and that killed 4 and injured 10. And that was back in July. 2 months, just over 2 months ago. Crazy.
These streets are very crowded during the weekends. Now, again, 4 people are dead, 4 others are fighting for their lives, and dozens were shot in total. The shooters are still on the run this morning. Now, as for other questions police are looking to answer right now, whether the suspects ran up or drove by during the shooting, also whether or not Glock switches were used.
We are investigating that there's multiple shootings, and we are investigating that there possibly was a switch used, which goes to show you how important it is we get anyone and everyone who has that in their arsenal off of our streets.
And I do have a video about Glock switches. I did not know what they were. So I have a news clip from a few years ago, well, a couple of years ago, in Detroit. They were having a lot of issues with Glock switches, and it's pretty scary that these things are on the streets.
That was Officer Truman Fitzgerald with the Birmingham Police Department. Right now, as they investigate this case, they're pleading with the public, asking anybody with information to come forward, especially these business owners here in the 5 Points area. If you captured what happened last night on surveillance footage, police really need that, so you can submit that to them. Also, anybody with information about what happened, you can call police or Crime Stoppers if you prefer to remain anonymous. Live in Birmingham, Emma Owen, WVTM 13.
Emma, thanks. And WVTM 13's Emma Blair joining us now from UAB, where they are still treating 10 victims. Zoe, you were on the scene all night speaking with witnesses. What did they tell you?
you know, I know they have to report, but one thing that really bothers me, and they do this in pretty much all of the stories that are related to mass casualty events, they're always at the hospital, and I understand it. They want to know how the victims are. They want to know what their injuries are. Yet at the same time, this had just happened, and it's just something that kind of just irks me, that the media is, you know, outside the hospital waiting for updates when people are fighting for their lives. Hey, Pumpkin,
yeah, Jarvis,
how are
I was
you?
out there all night. Many of the people I talked to said that it was scary out there. We're here outside of UAB emergency room now, where 10 people were taken tonight to be treated for their injuries. UAB is just one of several hospitals they were taken to. Like Emma said, all of this happened after several shooters opened fire into the open in 5 Point South outside of the Hush Lounge. Now, we do not currently know the conditions of those victims. We do know that 4 people are facing life-threatening injuries, and sadly, another 4 died at the scene. Now, Birmingham police are still investigating that scene, like Emma told you earlier. I did speak with a large crowd of people out there earlier. Many of them were checking on friends and family who were there to see if they were okay. I spoke with one man who was actually on his way out when he came across the shooting. He was trying to go to the bars that were in that area, and he said it was just scary to have almost been there to see that happen.
I was going to come out earlier, but I didn't. I kind of lagged around, and it was a reason. So everything happened for a reason. You just have to know when it's time to go, or it's time to go to another location, because this area here lately, the past couple weekends, it's been getting bad. It's been getting bad.
Now, like I said earlier, we do not currently know the conditions of those victims, but as soon as we get an update, we'll bring that to you. Live in Birmingham, Zoe Blair, WVTM 13.
And Zoe.
Okay. Hey, Ninja, how are you? Thanks for being here. Keto Kim. I know, it is awful. And I hadn't, you know, I was out all day. Well, not all day, but most of the day I was out. And so I knew I wanted to do a live tonight. And I was like, okay, what stories am I going to talk about? And this was the second headline on CNN. And I thought, you know, not again. Here we go again. Families destroyed. People have lost their lives. And I'm going to assume it's because I'm going to say young adults. I don't know the ages, but I'm going to assume that they are in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s. They need to use weapons instead of their words. And how many lives have now been changed because of it? So this was the press conference that they did earlier today. I have not watched it, so I'm going to be learning information with you. And then we have a few more things that we're going to go over. I actually found something as I was trying to determine what that other shooting was that reminded me of this. Pumpkin spice. I was born and raised in Birmingham. I left because it's so bad there. I feel like I guess it doesn't even need to be a big city anymore. It's happening everywhere. Even, you know, these small town America, you know, you can't go to the grocery store. You can't go to a splash pad. Kids have to be scared going to school. It's, you know, and apparently there is a nationwide Snapchat that is circulating through every single state with those threats of school violence. And I just think, don't these people have anything better to do? Oh, wait, no, they don't. Hey, Cash.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Officer Truman Fitzgerald with the Birmingham Police Department's Public Information Division, and we thank you for joining us for this press conference where we discuss a mass shooting that our city suffered. You will hear from Chief Thurman, and he has the pleasure of introducing our partners and our Honorable Mayor, Randall Woodfin, who's joining us today. This time, Chief Scott Thurman.
So good morning. First, I'd like to introduce the Honorable Mayor Randall Woodfin. To the right is Deputy Chief Henri Pruitt that commands our Patrol Bureau, and to his right is Deputy Chief Jeff Brown that commands our Investigative Bureau. We also have Tyra Cunningham, who is Assistant Special Agent in charge of ATF here in Birmingham, and we have Special Agent in charge for FBI, Carlton Peoples, with us. So last night about 11 p.m., Birmingham Police and Birmingham Fire and Rescue were called to the 2000 block of Magnolia Avenue on multiple individuals who were shot. Approximately 21 people were shot. 4 of those are deceased. They were taken to various hospitals, and the ATF and FBI were on scene with us, assisting in that investigation. We believe this was a targeted shooting. It was not something that occurred at that location, but there was an individual there who was targeted. We feel comfortable in saying that at this point in time. There is a lot of things still.
And I hate to pause it here, but he said they believe there was one person who was the target. One person. Yet 21 people were shot and 4 lost their lives.
Still developing. We believe that approximately over 100 shell casings were collected, along with numerous other pieces of evidence. We're currently reviewing video surveillance and other things. We have set up a QR code that our public information office will get out to everyone so that citizens can give information to our law enforcement detectives and things so they can further this investigation. Just like to thank Birmingham Fire and Rescue, the Birmingham police officers that were there last night, as well as UAB Hospital, St. Vincent's Hospital, Princeton Hospital, and Brookwood Hospital. Anytime, even though we're a large city, anytime when something of this magnitude occurs, it's very taxing on all of our city services and all these different medical facilities. So just really like to thank them. Also, just to the victims and to the victims' family, just our heartfelt condolences go out to them. That's 21 people whose lives were forever changed. That's 21 families that were, some were destroyed and some were just altered. And just our hearts go out to them as we work through this. But this is going to take some time for us, but we have the full support of our federal partners. I've spoken with District Attorney Danny Carr. Everybody's on board assisting us. It's just going to take time to work through this. And if the public has any information, we ask them to please either call Crime Stoppers at 205-254-7777, call Birmingham Police Homicide Unit 205-254-1764, and please, or utilize the QR code that we'll release shortly, because it's going to take everyone to get these individuals off the streets who on our city last night, and no one in this city wants these people on our streets.
Last night, what happened in our community was extremely unfortunate. In the 2200 block of Magnolia Avenue, I think there are many things we can do. The first thing and the priority is to get these shooters, find these shooters and get them off our streets. That will require the assistance of community members, not just from last night, but anyone who will have any information related to the whereabouts of these shooters. I think it's critically important for us to be in the position to best solve this case, for community members to step forward. I want to stress that you can remain anonymous and call Crime Stoppers at 205-254-7777. Again, that phone number is 205-254-7777. If you have any information, please reach out to Crime Stoppers. I also want to acknowledge the toll of this, the heaviness of this for many people involved. One, for these victims, the victims who live and who have to wake up and face a new unfortunate normal related to the emotional as well as physical trauma that they will have to live with. Two, to those who actually lost their lives, to their families. There are no words for that loss, right? Trying to stand here and find words to describe those families and what they're feeling right now, the anger, the hurt, the pain, the loss. I will say this, we, all of us as a community, owe it to them to do everything we can to take these shooters, killers off our streets. I also want to echo sentiments of what Chief Thurman said, and that is a huge thank you first to our first responders, our officers in our fire department, EMA, et cetera. What they saw last night, what they wake up facing. That's an emotional toll on them as well. But I want to give a huge shout out to UAB Hospital, St. Vincent's Hospital, Brookwood Hospital, and Princeton Hospital for doing what they do best, and that is saving lives. All of those hospitals stepped up last night for those surviving victims. But I want to make something clear. I am an elected official. My position is nonpartisan. And so in this moment, pretty much like all moments, I really don't care. I don't give a damn about partisan. I don't care about Democratic politics, Republican politics. What I care about and what is my concern, what is my top priority, along with the Birmingham Police Department, is public safety. But you got to give us the tools to solve these issues. This is not the first occasion, unfortunately, in 2024 where we've seen the style of weapons, the number of bullets on the scene, possibly conversions used, et cetera, automatic weapons being used in our streets. This is a solvable problem, and I want to explain that. You know, I tell people when America gets a cold, it's possible that Birmingham gets the flu. We've seen this in the 60s during segregation. At the height of it, unfortunately, we were the poster child. We find ourselves in 2024 where gun violence is at an epidemic level and an epidemic crisis in our country. And unfortunately, the city of Birmingham finds itself, unfortunately, at the tip of that spear. Is it solvable? The answer is yes. Does it require everyone to come together? The answer is also yes. At the height of gun violence in our country, which was the 90s, there was a bill that was passed. Now, some will say I'm getting too political, but I am a politician, so I need to speak the truth and publicly share my thoughts and what I'm feeling so people can understand what's at stake here. There was an assault weapons ban passed. Our country, and not just our country, but the city of Birmingham in that 10-year window saw the lowest form of gun violence. Since that assault weapons ban has been lifted, a lot of things have changed. Not just the increase of homicides at a scale in the city of Birmingham, but the style of weapons used in our city. Conversions used, switches, et cetera. The number of shell casings on a given scene. That requires laws to be changed to give the necessary tools for police to enforce. That is my desire. That is our desire. Our desire, our priority is to take killers and shooters off the streets. We don't have any interest in this whole debate about Second Amendment rights. We don't have any interest in people who want to protect their homes, militia, whatever else you want to say. There's a certain element in this city, there's a certain element in this community who are too comfortable riding around with semi-automatic weapons, automatic weapons, conversion switches, and everything else, whose only intent, hell-bent intent, is to harm people, shoot people, kill people. They don't care if it's innocent people around. They don't care if it's a business, a home, a senior, a child. That is their interest. We need the necessary tools. We don't have home rule. And so I want to work with the state. I want to work with the state to solve this problem. I'm not here to point fingers. But at an epidemic level that it is right now, can we make an exception for the city of Birmingham and allow the necessary resources, allow the necessary tools allow the necessary laws to address this, because this is not the first quadruple homicide we've had in 2024. But the same set of circumstances exists with the style of weapon, the number of bullets, the conversions, etc. This is solvable. We owe it to the victims. We owe it to the victims' families. We owe it to the victims who are no longer with us. We owe it to the victims who have to live with this trauma. We owe it to our innocent children, our innocent seniors. We owe it to every citizen in Birmingham. We owe it to small business owners and community members. We owe it to everyone. You know, Glock switches conversions are federally outlawed. And while they're outlawed in my left hand, you also have Congress not giving ATF the actual organization designed to enforce and take them off the street. You're cutting their resources at the federal level. You have to give people the tools they need to address and solve this issue. You see, we are prepared to be overly aggressive, dogmatic, if you will, and go after every shooter in the city. But as it stands, they can ride around with no permit. They can ride around with any type of gun. Again, if you want to protect your home, cool. But what are you going to do for us, the people who you say are responsible for public safety? You take this hand and you put it behind our back. You take this hand and you put it behind our back. No worries, I got it, brother. You take this hand and you put it behind our back. Then you put a blindfold over our eyes and tell us, well, you're responsible for solving this issue. So yeah, there are a lot of emotions that I have, but they pale in comparison to the family members who are waking up to their loved one not being beside them this morning. My emotions pale in comparison to the victims who are still at these hospitals I named, who have to figure out what's next in life, who have to live with this trauma. Do not tell me this is not solvable. And at the same time, do not tell me this is only on the police to solve. Elected officials, locally, statewide, and nationally have a duty to solve this American crisis, this American epidemic of gun violence. We should not allow people to just ride around with any style type of weapon that doesn't even belong on domestic streets. It should not be allowable, period. I don't care what your politics are. So, I said a lot, probably said too much. If you're offended by it, I don't care. We have a job to do. We want to get these shooters and killers off the street. And if you have information, it is incumbent upon you to call 205-254-7777 and give that information to us. You can remain anonymous. We'll continue to provide every resource available to these victims and their families. And our office will continue to lend every resource we can. We want to thank our federal partners, ATF and FBI, for being here with us, standing in the gaps, assisting with this investigation, and always being with us.
The individual, can you tell us how you've come to find that out already and why the individual was targeted and if the individual targeted is among the deceased?
We believe the individual that was targeted is among the deceased. We believe that there was a hit, if you will, change, but that's where we're at right now. Like I said, there wasn't anything that occurred at any of the businesses nearby. There wasn't an altercation that occurred there on the sidewalk. So with the information we have, that's, we believe, where we're at right now as of today.
We have the unsolved mass shooting from July.
Yes.
At the adult birthday party. Do you have more information at this point in the investigation on this case than you did at that? Because there have been no arrests there, but you seem to be moving pretty quickly on this one.
No, I'd say we probably have more on the other one just because time has passed. We've had a lot more time to garner more information and get things in place. Some of the things that we do just require time. Testing of evidence and other things just requires time. And so, but you know, as the mayor said, and really, and y'all, the public has seen it this year, when the public comes forward and shares information with law enforcement, and I hats off to Birmingham Police Department. The men and women work day and night tirelessly to get those cases solved and get those individuals off the street. We've proven that multiple times in 2024. As quickly as we get information, we act extremely swiftly. We pull whatever resources we need from our partners, and we get those individuals off of the streets of Birmingham. So we'll do that and continue to do that. That'll never stop. That's why we're here. But there again, public sharing that information is a lot of times is what makes those cases move much faster. We like to move very swiftly in this case and in all of our cases. But if we don't have that information, it makes it just a little bit harder for us. Not that we can't get there, but it just takes more time and makes it harder. Whereas if we can extract these individuals from our society today, we can make the city of Birmingham much safer.
So is there any connection known between those two shootings?
No. And that's one thing we look at, and not just those shootings, but any other shootings or any other situations. Is there a commonality between what occurred last night and any other incidents? And so we don't have anything right now saying that.
What exact type of weapon was used?
You know, we believe it was something that was fully automatic. I'll just leave it at that. There's multiple shell casings. That's something that's going to take some time for our forensics team and ATF to assist us in processing.
How many shooters?
There were multiple.
Were they in a car? Did they?
They were in a vehicle, got out of the vehicle, shooting occurred, they fled in the vehicle.
Did anybody return fire?
That's one of the things that we're working through right now to determine. You know, we're only, 10 hours from the time of the shooting. So, you know, there's just limited information that we have right now that we can give out. And so as time goes on and we have more information that we can release, we will.
Now, I know the mayor spoke about this a little bit, you know, changes in laws and that sort of thing. But if you have people that are stealing guns, you know, it's easy to get a Glock switch or something like that on a 3D printer, doing things illegally, ordering them off the internet. What can really be done to, you know, stop this type of crime from occurring?
I think it goes back to the press conference that we had at the Birmingham Police Firing Range several months ago. We had all our partners there. We had a demonstration. U.S. Attorney mentioned the flip the switch, you know, contacting Crime Stoppers and giving that information. There have been arrests made off of that information. I will tell you that. And so when the public has that information, if they will share it with law enforcement, we will act to arrest those individuals. If we know of someone who's, you know, fabricating those devices, we would love to have that information so we can deal with those individuals as well. But there again, the public is the eyes and ears of the city and the police department. They know far more than we will ever know. They've got to share that information with us so we can act on it and remove those people from the streets of Birmingham.
Is it unusual for a hit to take place in such a public, crowded place?
Well, it wasn't the location, it was the person. So wherever the person was is where it was going to take place, wherever they can catch that individual. So it wasn't location based. It was the individual who was there based. And that's just where they happened to catch them. Sir.
So there was also reports of a shooting at Onyx shortly after, within like the next couple of hours. Can you confirm about that? And if so, is there any correlation to the shooting at Hutch?
No correlation that I'm aware of. I don't know of any individuals who were shot at that location, just a shooting. And I believe at least one or two arrests were made, or people were taken into custody, shall I say.
Okay.
Ma'am?
Just to confirm, did you say that the alleged shooter was in the car, got out, ran, or was it a drive-by? Like, what was the situation?
No, the suspects pulled up in a vehicle, exited the vehicle, conducted a shooting, got back into the vehicle and fled the scene.
Thank you.
Can you also clarify, you did say that the target or targets were in fact killed?
We believe one of them was, yes.
One of them was.
Yes.
Was there just one target?
As far as we know at this point in time.
Do you know what the beef is about?
No. I mean, there could be multiple things. So that's one of the things that we're looking into. Like I said, we're 10 hours in. It's hard to give all the answers at just 10 hours in. There's a lot more information. Our teams are out working today. They'll work through the night and continue on. We've pulled all of our resources. We have our federal partners who were there with us last night when we were working. So they were there committed, you know, from the time that occurred to where we are today and still out assisting us. So I know the mayor has spoken with Washington, D.C. and individuals there, and they have, you know, asked him what he needs, what the city of Birmingham needs to work through this, and he's advised them of that. So really, it just comes down to some time, information from the public, and us just doing our job. So I can assure you that us doing our job is not going to be an issue. It's the public's assistance is where it's really going to come down to at the end of the day. That's the biggest piece that will expedite this investigation. Best thing, and we're discussing last night, is just there was individuals there who were just trying to enjoy themselves, who just want to have a nice evening, and this occurred, and now they're injured. They've got injuries that they'll have to live with the rest of their life, the trauma, the mental anguish that they've had to go through. And so it's difficult, you know, for the first responders, whether it be at the hospitals, BFRS, BPD staff. I mean, you can see it in some of their faces. And so it's difficult for everyone that this touches. And so, you know, our plea is for the, you know, our hearts are for the community, you know, so it's difficult. You know, I wish I had answers or something I could say to make it better, but I just don't, unfortunately. It's just a tragic situation. And I know our men and women are working hard every day to prevent these things. I mean, if you look at, you know, we've taken almost 1,100 guns off the streets of Birmingham this year. So it's not that the police department's not working hard to combat this issue. And I like my hats off to the men and women of Birmingham Police Department and our federal partners. They're always asking, what can we do to help? And they're right there with us. So we're doing everything we can at this point in time. So.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right. So not much information. Same, you know, the same thing most press conferences say, you know, thoughts and prayers to the victims, their families, those who lost their lives. Same old, same old. For those of you just coming in, this took place in Birmingham, Alabama at the 5 Points district, where 4 people have lost their lives. 17 others have been injured, 4 of them with life-threatening injuries. And what, you know, and I had paused it earlier because I was so mad, and he said it again. There was one target, and these people just happened to find the target in this location. So they just decided to open fire. Didn't care who was in the way, who got hurt, who got killed. They were just aiming for, and I'm curious, was the target one of those who passed away? Probably not. Probably not. Okay, so, excuse me. The next video is just a short video kind of summarizing everything in the press conference. And then I do have a video about Glock switches, which is what was used in this shooting, because I did not know what a Glock switch was. So if I didn't know, I'm sure there are others who don't either. Okay. And while this plays, I do have to my groceries came like an hour and a half early. So I'm just going to run, throw the stuff in the refrigerator, and I'll be back. So I'm just going to let this next clip play, and then I'll be back.
Police tell us that a total of 22 people were shot here last night. Among them, 4 died, 3 men and a woman, and then 18 others were also shot. Their injuries ranged from non-life-threatening to life-threatening. And now police say multiple shooters fired at a large group of people who were outside the 5 Points Entertainment District last night. This was on Magnolia Avenue South, where we are here this morning. Now, detectives do not think this was a random shooting. Rather, they believe it stemmed from an isolated incident and multiple people were caught in the crossfire. Right now, they're working to answer several questions. Who are these suspects? Who is the intended target? And also whether or not a Glock switch was used to carry out this mass shooting.
We are investigating that there's multiple shootings, and we are investigating that there possibly was a switch used, which goes to show you how important it is we get anyone and everyone who has that in their arsenal off of our streets.
That was Officer Truman Fitzgerald with the Birmingham Police Department. Now, he says BPD is working with the ATF and FBI to solve these questions here in this case that still remain. In the meantime, they're asking anybody with information to come forward, especially business owners here in the 5 Points South area, anybody who may have captured what happened last night on surveillance footage. Now, you can call BPD directly with any tips or information. You can also report them anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Live in Birmingham, Emma Owen, WVTM 13.
All right, so I just literally ran, got my groceries, and thankfully I didn't have a whole lot of perishable stuff, so I just threw it in the fridge and got back. So the first thing, I'm trying to think. I'm going to go to the video about the Glock switches because they did mention them, and they were initially created for the military. And this little clip is interesting because it talks, I don't know if it talks to the creator or if it just quotes him in, you know, statements that he's made, but this was interesting to me because I didn't realize that these things existed.
Now to a growing concern for Detroit police, illegal Glock switches. It's a small, dangerous device that can turn semi-automatic handguns into a fully automatic weapon. Police found one in Sunday's deadly shooting at an illegal block party where 19 people were injured and 2 people were killed. 7 News Detroit's Kimberly.
And let me just look. I don't remember. Let me just, oh, shoot. I can't see the year because I forgot. I'm not on YouTube, but I'm going to check. Oh, crud. I'm sorry. It's going to restart it again. Actually, I lied. It wasn't 2 years ago. It was 2 months ago. It was 2 months ago that this clip was from. So July 9th, 2024. I must have just, you know, misread the year. Okay.
Now to a growing concern for Detroit police.
Hey, Deborah, thanks
illegal
for being here.
Glock switches. It's a small, dangerous device that can turn semi-automatic handguns into a fully automatic weapon.
Hey, Callie Dime.
Police found one in Sunday's deadly shooting at an illegal block party where 19 people were injured and 2 people.
And so now I remember that was a story that I wanted to cover. And I feel like there was something else that happened and then I just didn't. But this shooting, they actually have audio. Some people's Ring doorbell cameras caught the audio of the shooting.
People were killed. 7 News Detroit's Kimberly Craig has been looking into these devices and DPD's fight.
Tiny little things. And I agree, Callie Dime, like a bump stock, can't use those anymore. So they have to come out with, I mean, you're not supposed to use any of these things anymore, but I mean, just, it's insane to me.
To get them off the street.
It's commonly called a Glock switch, and the father of one teenager killed called it the worst invention in history. Detroit police call it a nightmare.
I'm not surprised.
Kevin Miller manages a barbershop on Detroit's west side, and he says it's unsettling the number of young people he sees walking around with firearms.
They walk around and it's like watching an old Western. They have some big guns with the clips this long or whatever. And I'm just like, what do you need all that for?
And I love the fact that that man had a Bjork shirt on. I just wanted to say that.
That's how a Glock semi-automatic pistol is designed to fire. But with this quarter-sized device that Detroit police have been seeing more of, it turns into this.
So a quarter. It's tiny. It's even smaller than an iPhone charger.
They're illegal.
Jesus.
You can't possess them. And they turn a regular handgun into almost a machine style weapon.
The mindset is to inflict
Jesus,
as much
look at that.
damage.
Let me just go back. I wish they would have
Almost
it
a
longer,
machine
but
style weapon.
The mindset is to inflict as much damage as they can as quickly as possible.
Commander Ryan Connor and Captain Marcus Thurkill lead the organized.
Exactly, Kate. What the hell is right?
crime division for Detroit police.
It's what looks like fully assembled.
And they're seeing a growing number of criminals using these machine gun conversion devices, commonly called a Glock switch.
The year to date, we've recovered approximately 50 Glock switches off the street, and half of those have been used in violent crime.
Investigators say criminals are buying them online or simply making them at home with 3D printers.
That's dangerous. I'm like, we're not at war. Why you need a gun like that in the first place? We walk around with automatic rifles and all that. It's just...
I agree, ma'am.
It's scary for one thing.
It's important to note that Glock switches are often used on Glock pistols, but they are not made by the gun maker. They were invented by Jorge Leon, who said he wanted to help militaries and police. He now calls his invention a catastrophe.
The biggest problem and the nightmare for law enforcement is large capacity crowds, the amount of victims that
And that just makes me think, oh my gosh, it was that concert in Las Vegas. That guy that was in the hotel. I mean, it's like watching that target, you know, the paper target be shot at. It's like throwing sprinkles on the floor.
can cause versus what's legal as a semi-automatic handgun.
You fired a fully automatic.
Sure.
Can you imagine firing a fully automatic out of a handgun?
Oh, no.
Attorney Terry Johnson has experienced the power of a fully automatic firearm. He's a gun rights advocate who says this about Jorge Leon's invention.
The Glock switch is very dangerous for the public. No one is trained to use a handgun that's fully automatic, and there's a reason for that.
And that's why Detroit police are sending the message: if you're caught in possession of a Glock switch or making them, you can bank on being prosecuted federally.
But to hear a machine style weapon in a neighborhood where houses are in close proximity together is frightening.
So if you have information on anyone involved in making or possessing a Glock switch, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers or Detroit Rewards TV.
It's scary. Something like that can turn a weapon into a killing machine.
It's different penalties under federal charges.
This is not an anti-Second Amendment discussion. What this is about safety.
We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will prosecute you.
Kimberly Craig, 7 News, Detroit.
So many frightening modifications. Thank you.
I agree. Frightening modifications. And so I was thinking, because, you know, like, what's the difference between, you know, a bump stock and Glock switch? So I found this article. This article was from June of 2024, and it's titled, Supreme Court Reverses Ban on Bump Stocks. Will Glock Switches Be Next? So it says the U.S. Supreme Court struck down a federal ban on bump stocks Friday. Former President Donald Trump's administration pushed for the ban in response to the 2017 mass shooting in Las Vegas. That's what it was, Las Vegas. When a gunman fired more than 1,000 rounds into a crowd in just 11 minutes. Holy shnikes. Give me 1 second. I know I'm a math teacher, but so that is 90 rounds per minute, which is about 1.5 every second, give or take. Investigators say he was able to do it with a bump stock that can convert a semi-automatic rifle into a weapon that can fire at a rate of hundreds of rounds a minute. 58 people died at that country music festival. Monte Dab said bump stocks were never big sellers inside his South Haven gun shop, even before the federal ban. The majority of the guns that we sell are protection guns. People want to protect themselves. They want to protect their families. In a 6-3 ruling, Justice Clarence Thomas wrote the majority opinion, saying a bump stock is no more effective in firing quicker rounds than, quote, a shooter with a lightning-fast trigger finger, end quote. The Tennessee Firearm Association co-authored the amicus brief for the High Court ruling calling the ban unconstitutional. TFA Executive Director John Harris says the definition of a machine gun should be decided by Congress, not regulatory agencies like ATF. Okay, we don't have to get into all that. So it says, however, it's another device for weapons that is becoming much more prevalent on Memphis streets. You know, these Glock switches are one of the greatest threats that law enforcement faces today. Buckner says Glock switches, small devices that can be attached to handguns, are readily available and, like a bump stock, can fire rounds very quickly. Look at that. It's tiny. Well, and they said the size of a quarter. Tiny. And the other scary thing is that you can make these on 3D printers. This was not used in the Vegas one. He had the bump stocks, not the Glock switch. Currently, in the state of Tennessee, offenders caught with a Glock switch are only charged with the lowest level felony and face up to 1 to 6 years in jail. Now there may be challenges just like the bump stock because the ATF did that as a regulatory interpretation, so that may end up failing just like the bump stocks did. There are more than a dozen states that have their own bump stock bans in place. Tennessee attempted to pass a bump stock ban, but it failed in the legislature. Okay, so then it gets into Tennessee. So interesting. Those things are tiny. Tiny, tiny, tiny. Okay, so we're going to go back to the mass shooting in Alabama. So for those of you who may just be coming in, we are discussing a mass shooting that took place last night in the 5 Points district of Birmingham, Alabama. 4 people lost their lives. 17 others were injured, 4 of them with life-threatening injuries. And police have stated that there was one intended target. And I mean, they did say that, you know, was it 2 men and 1 woman or 2 women and 1 man? But were one of them the target? We don't know yet. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say they were innocent bystanders who just got caught in the crossfire. So, retired cop who owns Hush Lounge, gun violence has to stop after Birmingham mass shooting, quote, Pandemonium. And that's actually where I got the title for my live. I took it from this man. So it says the aftermath of a mass shooting in Birmingham's 5 Points South. So it looks like, so I'm assuming it took place just outside this lounge. Maybe that's where they saw, you know, the target and they said, okay, we're just going to start shooting. The owner of Hush Lounge said he saw mass pandemonium, people running everywhere outside the popular Birmingham club after gunfire on Saturday night killed 4 people and left at least 17 others injured. Ryan Pryor, who opened Hush in 2019 and retired after 20 years as a Birmingham police officer in March, was at his club last night in Birmingham's 5 Points South entertainment area when shots rang out after 11 p.m. Unfortunately, some of my patrons who happened to be standing on the sidewalk were injured and killed, Pryor said in an interview with AL.com Sunday morning. But I would like to stress that this had nothing to do with Hush itself. My heart goes out to the families, and I stand with Birmingham on correcting this violence. This gun violence has to stop. On Sunday morning, Pryor was preparing to reopen the business. We need to try to get back to some kind of normalcy. Hush at 2012 Magnolia Ave is a speakeasy-style lounge located in the underground space at Pickwick Place Retail Center. The club The club often features bottle service, parties, DJs, and recently celebrated its 5th year anniversary in June. 5 Points South near the University of Alabama at Birmingham is a historic neighborhood with bars and restaurants standing next to churches and apartments. Club patrons were waiting to get in line when people when police said multiple suspects jumped out of a car and fired multiple rounds into the crowd. So we know the target's there, but we don't really know where he is. So we're just going to start shooting. On Facebook, Gabriel Islami described standing outside the club, quote, when all of a sudden over 100 shots went off. I started running, then out of nowhere, I can't feel my leg and I fall. Islami said he stumbled to a nearby diner. A friend then took him to the hospital to get help for a gunshot wound. Actually, let's see if this brings us to Islami. It does. Okay, so Gabriel Islami, this is his Facebook. It says, I was at Hush waiting in line when all of a sudden over 100 shots went off. I started running, then out of nowhere, I can't feel my leg and I fall. When I get up, I look back and just see bodies laid out and smoke everywhere. I managed to make my way over to a diner and they flagged a cop down, but my friend saved my life. He came back for me. He was hit himself, but he went to grab his car and immediately took me to UAB. I had a bullet enter my left butt cheek and come out of my thigh, millimeters from my main artery. UAB's trauma team did amazing work. They got everyone checked and looked at and saved many, many lives that night. But please keep those who didn't make it and their families in your prayers, guys. It was an imagine I'll never forget. That is terrifying. Yeah, daylight, you see kids with backpacks getting to their classes and people in scrubs getting to and from their shifts, but after dark, yikes. UAB Hospital is a world leader in research education. And I had said earlier, I almost went there for grad school. And it was between UAB and Wichita State. And ultimately, Wichita State won because I had family in Kansas. So I figured, if something happens, at least my family is closer than thousands of miles away. Okay, so I read his post. 3 people died at the scene. 1 person later died in the hospital, according to police. A pair of shoes left behind in the shooting. And those are the pictures. These are the pictures that really leave a marked impact because someone was just there to have fun. Birmingham Police Chief Scott Thurman said the shooting may have been a murder for hire and that more than 100 shell casings were collected at the scene. Let's see what this hyperlink goes to. Ugh, why do they have to put pictures like that? Come on. The hail of gunfire in Birmingham's 5 Points South that shattered the lives of dozens likely started with a murder for hire targeting 1 man and left a carnage of 4 collateral deaths and injuries in its wake. Unreal. More than 100 shots from at least 1 fully automatic weapon left 4 people dead and 17 others wounded. So it's Birmingham Police Chief Scott Thurman on Sunday morning said the suspected target of the shooting was among the dead. Okay, I must have missed that. Okay, so the target did die. So I misspoke. I didn't hear him say that. It wasn't the location, it was the person. So wherever the person was where it was going to take place. Wherever they can catch that individual, that's just where they happen to catch them. Multiple shooters pulled up in a car, exited, opened fired, and then fled. Well, hopefully there is video surveillance somewhere in that proximity. We believe there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person where someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed. The shooting was the second mass shooting in Birmingham in just 2 months and the third quadruple homicide in the city this year. This is a very tragic situation. There were individuals there who were just trying to enjoy themselves, who just wanted to have a nice evening, and now this occurred. They've got injuries they'll have to live with the rest of their lives. The trauma, the mental anguish. It's crazy. All right, let's go. Okay. Oh, here we are. Okay, so it says Pryor said that he operates Hush with tight security, including personnel who scan identification, pat down patrons, and scan them with security wands. For the past 5 years, we've had a pretty safe environment for our patrons. That's why we've been around for so long. Once people come out, whoever's outside of our establishment, all I can do is pray for them and wish that they do things the right way. But this incident is an incident that could have happened at a Walmart, could have happened at church. I agree, it could have happened anywhere. Pryor also owns 2 other bars in Pickwick Place nearby. All right, and the rest just kind of talks about his history, things like that. Uber damage, yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, I agree. Having support close. Yep. And that's also after college where it was between Colorado and Philly. I chose Philly because it was only 6 hours, well, 5.5, 6 hours. And not, a flight. Thousands of miles. So we have 2 more articles, and then we have one last clip that we're going to watch, but it's unrelated to this mass shooting. So this was from a survivor, and this is from AL.com. Quote, "There was blood everywhere. Birmingham mass shooting survivor says he is, quote, blessed beyond blessed." Oh, and actually this is the kid that was on Facebook. So, and I thought there was a video. Maybe not. I thought there was a video to this one. Gabriel Islami had spent Saturday with former Clay Chalkville High School classmates at a reunion when they decided to continue the celebration in Birmingham's South Side. Islami, 24, was waiting with friends in line to get into Hush, a hookah and cigar lounge in 5 Points South, when the unthinkable happened. "We were kind of far back in the line," said Islami, who explained he was standing near 20th Street, which is a half block away from the lounge's front entrance. That's a long line. "All of a sudden, toward where the entrance is, there were just massive amounts of gunshots, definitely over 100 rounds for sure. In my mind, when it first started happening, I thought they were just shooting at people in the front of the line, but they were shooting up the line." Wow. So that tells me, based on what this kid is saying, is that they knew the target was there. They just didn't know where in the line he was. So they just tried to take out the whole line. Islami, like many, started to run for cover. "As I'm running, I got shot in my left buttocks. I fall. It didn't even register in my head that I got shot." He was able to stand and looked around in shock. "I look back and it's just gun smoke and people's bodies laid out on the pavement. My car was parked out front and there was blood all over my car from other people." Oh my God. Islami was one of 21 people shot when someone unleashed a barrage of gunfire Saturday night in the area of 20th Street and Magnolia Avenue in the heart of Birmingham's 5 Points South Entertainment District. 3 men and one woman died. Of the survivors, at least 3 others sustained life-threatening injuries. Oh, here he is. Here is Gabriel. Giving a thumbs up. Islami made his way to a diner on the other side of the intersection. I hear my name being called, and it's one of my friends who was in line with me. That friend, Jamarlin Sewell, had been grazed in the arm and picked up Islami and carried him to a bench. There was blood everywhere. Sewell got Islami situated and then went to get his car to take Islami to UAB hospital. He saved my life. He came back for me. And that is a great friend. That is a great friend. And, you know, to be able to find him in that chaos. Sewell rushed Islami to UAB hospital. The bullet, he said, entered his left buttock and exited through the front of his body, narrowly missing a main artery. I was one of the first people there, Islami said of the emergency room. When I arrived, I was screaming, I got shot, and they were unloading someone else. They gave me that wheelchair and rushed me inside. Within seconds, he was on a hospital table being treated. They were awesome. They did everything by the book. Probably the best experience I've ever had in my life. Their trauma unit is amazing. Islami's family soon arrived at the hospital and were waiting in the lobby like so many others. They told me it was just doctors coming out saying to other families, we're sorry, your son didn't make it, or your daughter didn't make it. Islami said the entire ordeal was, and still is, traumatic. Loud noises never bothered me, like cars or popping noises. But this morning I heard some popping noises that woke me up out of my sleep, and I was like still not over it. I'm not used to this feeling. Physically, it's hard to walk, but by the grace of God, it didn't hit anything major. The unexpectedness of it all is unsettling, he said. I purposely stay away from those areas, but 5 Points is usually a nice area. There's always officers patrolling, and I heard Hush has good security. Security was doing their job, but no one could have expected a drive-by. I never thought I would be a victim, Islami said. I'm just blessed beyond blessed I got out of there with minimal injuries compared to other people. Islami said he regularly comes to Birmingham for Top Golf or Uptown, but said he will be hesitant going forward. I don't think I can go downtown for a long time. Even the areas you think are better than other areas aren't even safe anymore. Things have changed drastically. Oh, and that was it. Oh, what is this? It says Birmingham could break a tragic 91-year-old record after multiple mass shootings. Let's see what this says. So it says, though it is impossible to know what is in store for Birmingham in the last 3 months of 2024, Saturday's mass shooting that killed 4 people in 5 Points South put the city closer to breaking the city's annual record for homicides set in 1933. As of today, there have been 122 homicides in Birmingham in 2024. In 1933, the city set a record for homicides with 148 violent deaths. That's really interesting to me because I feel like maybe it's because of social media or how we get access to news, but I feel like it would be less dangerous back then. But according to this, 1933 has the record. Hey, Alabama Mama. I can imagine how scary. At the rate Birmingham has gone in 2024, a year that has seen 3 quadruple homicides in 7 months, the city could easily have 27 or more homicides before January 1st, 2025. And I don't know about the other quadruple homicide, but there was another one. Do I still have that article up? Yes, I do. So this is what I was thinking of. I covered this nightclub shooting back in July, and this left 4 dead, at least 10 injured. So this is the other quadruple. I don't know what the other one was or when it was, but either way, it's awful. So many lives destroyed. And I remember with the nightclub shooting back in July, the mom of one of those who were killed had lost her other son prior. And I don't want to speak as to when, because in my head I have a couple of months, but it might have been a couple of years. Or it was a cousin. Maybe it was a cousin. Now that I'm thinking about it, it may have been a cousin, and then 2 cousins that were killed within months of each other. Yeah, Keto Kim, that would be interesting too. I wonder if 1933 historic event. Let's see. I'm going to look up. Oh, they actually have a list. Oh, it doesn't exist anymore. Okay, here's FBI. Oh, I think, okay, well, this could be, okay, so this is, I don't know if this is relative or, but this is interesting. It says, during the early 1930s, the Bureau was a small agency largely unknown to the public, and they're talking about the FBI. That started to change as agents began hunting down notorious gangsters across the country, ultimately becoming known as G-men. The Birmingham division played a key role in the origins of that nickname. On September 25th, 1933, Bureau agents in Memphis learned that wanted fugitive George Machine Gun Kelly and his wife were living undercover in that city. Birmingham agents provided key support in the early morning raid that led to the capture of the couple. Very interesting. So 1933 was also the year of Machine Gun Kelly, not the artist. It says it was during the arrest that Kelly allegedly uttered something along the lines of, "Don't shoot, G-men, don't shoot." He likely never said those exact words, but the press reported it, and a legend was born. Interesting. Oh, the coal strike occurred in Birmingham in 1933. It caused chaos in the area. Interesting. It has gotten to where we are afraid to leave our house, and certain parts have always been pretty bad, but 5 Points is where the clubs are and a lot of businesses. And I would think, being close to the university, it's, you know, it has a lot of college kids and, you know, that type of, you know, young kids, young people. Okay, racial tension, industrialization, mining strikes. It's interesting. All right, let me find the... So it says that would break that 91-year-old record. The spike in homicides this year also comes at a time of dwindling population for Birmingham. With a population of a little under 197,000 people in 2024, Birmingham has a rate of 6.2 homicides per 10,000 people. In 1933, when Birmingham was just under 269,000 people, the city had a 5.7 homicides for every 10,000 people. Wow, that's quite, I mean, that's almost 75,000 people. The city ended 2023 with 135 homicides, a 6.25% drop over 2022, which had 144 homicides. And what was, hold on, sorry, I forgot that number, 148. So actually, 2022 was 4 shy of breaking the record. That's still a lot, 144. Birmingham's 2022 homicide total was the deadliest year in recent city history, 141 in 1991. Birmingham ended 2021 with 132, 2020 with 122, 2019 with 106, 2018 with 107. So it is increasing every year. Well, it actually decreased from 2018 to 2019. It was kind of level, but then it increased. Oh, and that was it. So very, very interesting. Yep, you learn something new every day. And that's why, you know, I do my lives about the stories, but then I'm always interested in knowing more. So to read, and I love that that al.com has those hyperlinks, because then it just takes you to the story and you can just hit back to get to where you were. It was interesting that 1933 holds the record for the most homicides. Oh, your husband works in Birmingham, Alabama. Yeah, don't ever tell people where exactly you live. Nope. Not a good idea here on these internet streets. So I'm going to end this with a story. I had actually shared it on my community page, but I do want to end it. I try to end all of, I'm going to try to end all of my lives with a feel-good story, because there are so many terrible stories. And, going through my watch later, I have so many that I want to talk about. And I did get behind on those stories because we covered Carly Gregg's trial last week, which I love covering trials, but it was a lot. It was a lot. And it gets me behind because I don't have, the hours I had in the summer to do more. So, thanks, Alabama Mama. That's sweet. So this story is of this cat he is so freaking cute. And when you see his eyes, he's a little cross-eyed, but he is so cute. So he was traveling with his mama and papa, and somehow the collar, he got out of his collar, ran into the woods. Or I don't want to misspeak, but now that I think about it, I think he got loose or something. So when the mom tried to grab his collar, he got out of the collar and went running into the woods. And this was in Yellowstone Park. And Kitty traveled 600 miles back home. And actually, I lied, 900 miles from Wyoming to California. And my story isn't 900 miles. It's more of maybe 2 miles. But when I was in high school, actually, I might have even been, I think it was either 8th or 9th grade. So it could have been middle school, but I think it was high school. Our vet was across the river. And so normally our vet would make you know, this was back in the 90s. So it's not like, you know, they have two different sides for cats and dogs now at some vet clinics. But they didn't back, you know, then it was a small vet practice. So anyways, they, for some reason, had us wait outside with my cat. He got out of his carrier. I don't even remember what happened, but he got out of his carrier. It was traumatizing. We're like, oh my God, he's never going to be back. His name was Pudgy because he was pudgy. And so, you know, you think like, that's it. Like, we live across the river. There's no way he's going to get home. So I think it was maybe 2 months later, 2 or 3 months later. It was a couple of months at least. I'm outside, you know, doing whatever. And I see this orange cat. It was Pudgy. He had made his way home. I don't know how he got across the river. He could have walked across a bridge, I guess. But animal instincts, they will find their way home if they are so inclined, or, you know, if something doesn't happen. So anyways, this is, I know, right? Cali Dime, 900 miles. I misspoke. And I will say that in this case, it's a good thing that he was a little chunky, because by the time he got home, he was very thin, very, just emaciated. So it's a good thing he was a little chunky when he got loose.
We've always traveled with our cats. That was always our intention when we got them as kittens. And, but it's always been, you know, shorter, just long weekends. Well, we thought we want to go to Yellowstone with them. When he felt that slack, he thought, oh, it's time to go. So he jumped out of the truck, but I still had the leash. So I figured, okay.
So I did have this a little wrong. So he had a leash and he was excited to jump out. And when he jumped out, he got out of the collar.
I still got the leash. Well, the tightness of the leash on the collar broke the collar away when he landed. And when I saw that leash that collar come off, I screamed and I ran, and he went right for the woods. And in my heart, I just could not lose hope. I could just not let it go. So even though that day when we left, I was crushed leaving without him. It felt so unnatural to leave without him.
So precious. And he's a little cross-eyed, but it could be because like they might have been, I always flick my fingers when I want my cats to look at me so I can take their picture. But he's such a beautiful cat.
Like, you just don't leave your kid.
Like this one, like, I mean, I don't know what was happening here, but man, he's got the cross-eyed down. Wasn't there one in Heathcliff that kind of had eyes that were kind of not really cross-eyed, but they kind of look cross-eyed? He wore the hat. I don't remember his name, but that's who it reminds me of.
I mean, even though he's a cat, he's my baby. So my husband gets them to take a picture in the shelter and send it to him. And I'm still looking at it. Is it really him? And then we realize it's really him. And I just couldn't believe it.
Rain.
But I believe truly that he made that trek mostly on his own. He was his paws were really beat up. Lost 40% of his body weight.
I mean, that is significant for a cat, 40%. But it's my opinion that it's a good thing he was chunky. Hector the Himalayan, I know. Oh my gosh, he's so gorgeous.
Had really low protein levels because of inadequate nutrition. So he was not cared for. Yeah, he's a trooper. And he's my adventurer. I don't put it past him, that he's determined. I'm going to get home. But Roseville was where he got stuck, I think. He was always sweet, but he's even sweeter. And my husband was always the extra
Oh,
person.
Hector.
He never
Okay,
really
yeah,
laid
that's
on
the
his
one,
lap
too.
much or anything like that. And he goes up on his papa's lap and lays and purrs and wants him to pet him. So he has come back a different cat in all the best ways.
So cute. And actually, I'm going to see if I can find, let me see. I just love that story. Oops. All right, let's see. Let's look at this one, because this one says 800 miles. So either way, Kitty went a long way. This is another interview with looks like a local. Oh, NBC News. All right. Yep, California cat travels 800 miles after being lost at Yellowstone.
Benny and Suzanne Angiano spent days searching the Yellowstone
Oh my,
forest.
hold on a second. Let me just back up. I have that shirt she's wearing. It says "Be salty, stay lit." But mine is hot pink. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Anyways.
Angiano spent days searching the Yellowstone forest after their cat Rainbow got away
Oh
on
my
a
gosh, his
camping
name is
trip.
Rainbow.
But really, I mean, my husband is my hero because he went every day into the forest for hours looking for him.
They got help from park rangers and other campers, but the cat was nowhere to be found. And after a while,
We had to leave without him. That was the hardest day because I felt like I was abandoning him.
after 60 days spent back in
can't
Salinas,
imagine.
they could only hope Rainbow was still out there.
There up pops this message from Pet Watch. Rainbow with identifier microchip number 12 digits long has been identified.
A woman.
And thankfully he was microchipped. I can't, some of my cats aren't microchipped because I can't catch them because they're still feral. But all of my cats that I can catch are microchipped, and I mean, how amazing. And I'm curious how far Roseville is from, they may say, but how far Roseville is from where they live.
In Roseville found Rainbow and took him into the local SPCA.
He was really depleted. He probably didn't have a lot of energy to maybe even go further. So this lady who found him and rescued him, she's just an angel because she even said that he looked like he was not going to make it much longer.
But what everyone wants to know, how did Rainbow, in the span of 2 months, get all...
Oh, and he's got a collar on. Well, he might have always had a collar at home, but now he's got a collar. That is incredible. Yellowstone to Roseville. Like how... I can't even imagine how really any animal would do that. And cats, by nature, male cats have a 10-mile radius. So, their job is they have 10 miles and they just go around these 10 miles and their goal is to, reproduce. So when you think about a 10-mile radius of a normal cat, this is just, I feel like, unheard of. Aw. We had a cat jump out of our truck when we were moving, and he was found in a neighborhood a month later. We were nowhere near home, but it wasn't 600 miles. It's crazy how they can do that. And this cat wanted to get home. And like the lady said, like, thank goodness someone saw him and just, brought him to get get scanned.
Away from Yellowstone to Roseville, over 800 miles away. They're hoping someone may know, and maybe their story could spark a memory.
Hey, I remember that cat. And we saw it here, we saw it there, or, even they took it in.
The Angianos say Rainbow's story is an important reminder. Get your pets microchipped, because without a chip, Rainbow might not have been found and finally brought home.
Thanks for watching. Stay.
So cool. So cool. So Rainbow is home. Rainbow is home. So really cool story. Sorry, give me 1 second. So thanks everybody for being here. I know it wasn't, you know, it was another tragic story, another mass shooting where, you know, people were just trying to have fun. The difference between this and you know, many of the others I've covered is that this one they believe there was an intended target and they knew the target was there. So they just got out, opened fire, and unfortunately 4 people lost their lives and 17 others are injured. I do plan on going live tomorrow with just, you know, like I normally do with my cases, different stories. I have so many that I want to talk about. There is one I was going to talk about it today, but I didn't know if I'd have enough time. And I always want to give my stories the respect that they deserve. There is a missing mom. She's 20 years old in North Carolina, and she hasn't been seen for a month. So I'm going to talk about her. And there's another story of, oh my gosh, no, I don't remember. Anyways, definitely come check it out because I do, you know, I have at least 8 stories that I plan to talk about. And sometimes we don't get that far because we start talking about other things. But thanks everyone for being here. I do appreciate it. If you haven't hit that like button, please do so on your way out. And if I don't see you on these YouTube streets, I will see you all on the flip side.
Let it take me to that place now. I won't ever let my thoughts get away now. I got better things to do, picking fate now. I just want to be the best, call me great now. I don't know if I'm okay or insane now. I remember better days on the playground, hoping I can find my way even when I'm feeling down. I fight, even when I don't know what is right. I'ma pick a side and I'ma take pride. I will decide my fate and I will never let them tell me who I am. If you try to shape me, I'll be damned. Planet on the ground is where I stand. Never give up, that was always the plan. It's so cold outside. I'm alone, I'm alright. It's so cold outside. I'm alone.